Good morning. Welcome to today's CIT Tech for Business podcast. Today we're sitting down with Kyle and Rob to discuss what to consider when hiring an MSP. Just a little moment to introduce myself. I know this is our fifth Tech for Business podcast. I'm Kelsey. I'm part of our marketing team, and I'm going to be asking these guys just a couple questions, help us keep centered from all of our tangents that we love to have. But I'm going to kick it right over to you guys. Why don't you guys give us your first name, your title, and then we'll dive right into it.
Thanks, Kelsey. My name is Kyle Etter. I am the president and CEO at CIT.
Hey, good morning. I'm Rob Kramer. I am Director of Managed Services at CIT.
Awesome. Thank you both. As I kind of led us into in our intro, talking about MSPs this morning, managed service providers. What are those?
Well, that's a great question. To different people, managed service providers means different things. But in general, a managed service provider is an organization that you can call that's going to help answer computer questions for your users. Whether that's how do I install this Microsoft application? How do I print? I'm having problems printing. Can you fix it for me? Sometimes it's more important to talk about what they're not, and we can get into that in just a little bit.
Yeah, I think you can just to add to that a little bit. So there's an agreement. Typically, it's a monthly recurring fee, usually based on users or devices that you have to support your IT infrastructure. So as Rob mentions, obviously there's typically help desk. There's technical expertise provided by the MSP partner that you choose, and then there's a set of tools, typically automation, to help control costs as well as bring in management framework for how you manage your IT infrastructure. So it usually provides us some software for management for things like patching of Microsoft patching of what we call third-party applications, your web browsers, different components, making sure that things are up or down, if servers or firewalls are key components in your IT infrastructure to automatically monitor for their status, as well as other things like how much disk space is in use, is the processor running high CPU usage, those types of things. So you have a lot of metrics and other things that get gathered by those tools. So very valuable, but it's a combination of obviously trained and experienced IT personnel plus software and services in a monthly agreement. Is at a high level what it is. It definitely varies by vendor or by MSP on how they package it, but it's at the end of the day, that's kind of sums up what it is.
Awesome. That makes sense. It's still a lot of things, right out of the gate that you're like, we could do a million things for you. Congratulations. And some of these are going to have acronyms, just like the name of it. But you guys briefly mentioned, right? These are all of the things an MSP can do. Kind of made my brain go, are MSPs just local companies, or can they be bigger organizations that tend to have more outsourcing? What's kind of the range of where you can find MSPs and where they're located?
You can find them everywhere. You got MSPs that are anything from a 1 or 2 person company that support small groups within their area, to very large national organizations that have thousands of engineers spread across the world. And the trick is finding the one that's a right fit for you. Somebody who's going to be well suited to your organization, who can really partner with you, learn your ins and outs of your unique environment, and help support you on that. So small or large, there's advantages in both directions. Finding the right fit is really what's important.
No, that makes perfect sense and launches right into my next question. How do you find one with all of those options out there?
That's a great question. I guess I'd start off with looking at some of the common options, asking friends or colleagues who they've worked with, if they have any recommendations, because finding somebody that somebody else is wanting to recommend usually is a good indicator that they're a solid company, that they're gonna do a good job supporting your environment. Going to Google and just typing in a search and just randomly calling somebody, you don't know what you're going to get. You could be getting a one person shop out of Timbuktu, and they don't know your environment, they don't know your industry, and when they go on vacation, you still lose your support. So sometimes you're looking for that organization that's just the right size, that they have enough engineers. When somebody's on vacation, you still get to call, you still get to talk to somebody, you still get support. but they're not so big that you're just a small fish in a big pond, if you will, that they don't really know anything about you. They don't learn your environment. You're just, it's just another person you're calling. You could just be as well be calling, a manufacturer someplace and talking to a help desk in India. You don't really know, right? So finding that right organization, asking around, asking, like I said, asking your peers, asking other organizations in your industry if they're using a managed service provider, who they've used and who they like is probably one of your really strong indicators of a good place to start.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. I think the referral side is always a strong aspect. Yeah, as mentioned, there are national ones. Being a local provider, I'm going to be slanted towards believing there's a lot of value in the local uh, provider, just because from what we've seen over the years, just being remote is not enough. There is definitely times, you need to be on site and you want to be on site, you want to make the connection. There's things you need to do to keep, upgrading on the systems and the other components. And it's just, nearly impossible you can't do it all remote. If you have on-site support to handle those things and you just need some augmentative, then possibly, national provider could fill the need for you. But in many cases where you're truly looking for, an IT partner that can be more holistic, and usually we find from the customers we work with, the intention or the expectation is that they're looking for, you know, on-site, remote, the whole gamut. It's the end game is to say they want IT working, and keep the systems, keep their users productive. And um, quite often, a local provider, I think, provides a little more closer relationship, closer alignment with what the customers are actually expecting.
Well, that makes
Yeah.
perfect. Oh, sorry, Rob, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to add a little bit to that. Kyle makes an excellent point, and that is, managed service providers, as we are, we gather a ton of data. We learn a lot about the customer's environments, and one of the things that lends itself to is really looking towards the future, and as we move forward, what's going to be the best fit for the customer in the future? Do they need to be looking at a specific type of technology or something that's coming down the line, or do we need to make some changes to their system to optimize it? Having that holistic coverage where you actually have engineers who can come on site and can have that hands-on expertise for you really kind of fills out that managed service desk environment and allows you to kind of have the other side of it. So if you don't have that local IT presence and you need that kind of help, looking for a provider that has kind of that full package is going to be very important to you.
No,
Yeah.
that makes
Now,
perfect sense. And
yeah.
just really, really quickly, that kind of brought up the question, right? That I say I'm a customer. And of course, in today's world, I'm hybrid or a lot of my workers are remote. And yes, it's great to have somebody on site, but how does that work? Let's say that I have, right, employees that are all working from their homes. Somebody's in Hawaii, somebody's here. Would a local MSP still be able to provide the support that I need?
Yeah, actually, very, very effectively. And if you're the type of organization who may have a local network administrator, um, uh, with an organization like ours, we'll give you access to the tools, so you can actually use our tools to help support your remote users wherever they happen to be. So just like we use it to help remote in and shadow somebody's screen and solve a problem, a local IT person could use that same tool to do that work as well. So yeah, it is very effective. Having the knowledge of the organization, learning about their unique software and applications and how their users need to function, really is more critical than where they're sitting. When the pandemic hit, we saw this mass migration to this hybrid environment, and those organizations who had some pre-planning for that, who had some users who traveled from time to time, had some ability to work remotely, actually were able to make that transition very easily. And organizations who were fairly static, very in-house, they had to scramble a little bit, and they had to lean pretty heavily on people like their managed service provider to help them figure out how to get their users out to the house and still be able to do what they need to do. And it was a very interesting time to see how different organizations reacted in that.
Yeah, very, very much so. And I also think that, the tools themselves give such a ease of access to get to those devices. But, to have a local provider that can prep those devices and have them sent to those remote workers when they are ready for upgrades, we see a lot of synergy and a lot of value in that as well. Just the consistency of the support provider to understand the nuances that everybody's IT systems has. Nothing is a one size fits all in IT. It never is. They're never the same. So, the way that they prefer to have their devices set up and what the user's expectation is of the workstation when they receive it, needs to be, planned out accordingly. So when you send it to that remote worker, you want them to be, as productive as fast as possible. And we find a lot of synergy in, the pre-prep, pre-imaging, even with cloud connected desktops and Azure AD and those things. You want to go through some prep on those devices before they go to the users. And I think a national provider would have a very difficult time executing on that.
I smell a future podcast coming there about prepping devices and cloud. I'm like, ooh, that could be a whole nother 30-minute discussion. So yes, we'll tuck that one in our pocket for a future one. But let's say that I am a customer, I have X number of employees. Is there a certain number of employees that when I'm interviewing an MSP, I should say, yes, you're going to be a good fit, or no, I'm either too big for you or you're too big for me? Do you guys tend to come across that when talking with people?
Kyle can speak a little bit to that probably more than I can, as he's in a lot of those pre-meetings. But if I look at the kind of customers that we have a lot of customers from very small, 5-10 users, all the way up to several hundred users. So does that mean that one size fits all? No, but there is a point I think you'll find, that you need to know the organization you're partnering with has the back end infrastructure and capacity to handle the types of issues you're going to have. Do they have the training and stuff you need? A lot of the large organizations will tend to get a little bit more complex. They may very well have a more advanced environment. And if you're working with an MSP that's a little on the smaller side, they may not have the breadth of experience and knowledge that you're looking for. So yeah, it is an important question to ask. Does that mean that one organization can't service both? No. Like I said, we have many customers that kind of span the environment size. Would I want to take on a 10,000 user organization? I don't think I'd be ready for that. I think that I'd have questions whether or not we have the capacity to handle that number of calls and stuff. But that doesn't mean it's not possible. It really depends on the environment, what their expectations are. So,
yeah, I think it's again, there is no one size fits all on this side of it. It's the role the MSP provides, can be adjusted accordingly. The smaller organizations, Rob said, once you're typically less than 50 full-time employees. An MSP essentially could be your IT department. They handle the on-site, they provide the remote help desk, they manage the systems, they do the upgrades, they handle everything. As you start to get larger, and definitely more than 100 plus users, typically you start to see a need for an on-site IT person, somebody within the organization that is now a full-time employee, but the MSP is augmentative. They handle projects, they handle, keeping an eye on the systems 24/7. They provide the management platform that resource uses, as an augmentative side of it. But then that employee is more focused on the users, for the customer's productivity, as well as their data, their systems, their line of business applications. As you get bigger, those become complex. And I know we might talk a little bit about this. Let's go through there, is where it's a struggle for an MSP is once you get into those internal line of business systems, MSPs, we can't go that deep into the organization side of it. It's a more, higher level IT support for the functioning of the desktops and the patching and the health of the networks and the security of the systems and those things. But once you get into that data, having somebody on site who really understands that, keeps the users, becomes very productive. And most larger employees, that's where it really starts to be a need. But an MSP can provide a tremendous augmentative, consistent support that has, for us, we're 24/7. I know there's other MSPs around, so looking for those that you have somebody on glass, around the clock that can, give you a call if the system's reporting offline that they can potentially take, to make sure things are patched, to give you the management platform to manage it. There's a tremendous value there that, again, having somebody internally to try to build that themselves just takes them away from the core business, because the MSPs do a very, very good job at that. It's what they're purpose built for.
And that was going to
Yeah.
be, yeah. Sorry, Rob. I was going to say.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
To Kyle's point there, we're not going to know a lot of those line of business applications. However, for some of our customers who are kind of in that in between category, they don't have a local IT person, but they have kind of a unique application. We proxy that. We will call the vendor on their behalf. We'll get the ticket set up, and we'll work with the end user to try and solve that problem. We don't necessarily have that expertise, but we can help broker the connection and help translate for the person on the technical side to the business side. So we can act as kind of the intermediary for those calls as well when we need to.
That's a good point.
Perfect. I was going to say two things. First, can you give an example of some of those line of business applications? Which ones are easier to proxy with? Which ones are maybe a red flag to be like, hey, you're going to have to use their support? That's kind of a grab bag, but just if somebody was listening, like, how do I look at my applications and know whether this is going to be a problem child or if it's fairly easy?
Like ERPs, CRMs.
Exactly. A lot of those.
Accounting, into your accounting, so it kind of falls in the ERP side of it. Once you get into those things, I won't name any by name. Go into those ones, and obviously some things that are custom built side with it. And even some of it is just the data workflow that some organizations have evolved into, how they're using, your Word and Excel documents, their file share structure. Companies have evolved over the decades of how they're using just, unstructured data that just sits on a file share within it, in very unique ways. You run into those things, and they have very unique processes with how they print and share and execute a workflow within their business side of it. So, it can be very far reaching. And for an MSP to walk in the door and just have, there's no magic sauce to just say, boom, we get it. We understand everything. It takes, it takes time, and certainly to go deeper into those things. Again, we have to rely on the vendors or somebody on site to champion those products, that we can make sure that the systems are operational and healthy and available up to the point of then once it's in the application, it gets much more complex, but that just requires a lot of collaboration and making sure that you're talking, which I think it circles it back. I think the importance of the local, because you need that regular cadence and communication to keep everybody on the same page, just as you would if they were internal. You need to make sure that the teams are talking, whether they're external or not. You got to have that, and that's definitely what we've seen over the years, is just the need when we've seen things start to become problematic between our services and the customer, increasing the cadence between our managed team and the customer's teams resolves those challenges. Whether we go to a weekly call and then make sure things are quieted down because some system upgrade went through, there's a spike in calls, users are upset, customer becomes upset, start talking more, miraculously things start to get back on track, people are collaborating better, and then you start to move forward. So it's not that much different than what you do internally between departments. Things aren't working, you got to get people meeting to resolve things. And that's, you got to look at your MSP in that way, kind of extension, to say they don't have a crystal ball. They're not going to be able to walk in and see things under, behind the curtain. So you got to get people talking.
That's that one of the things that came out of that, Kyle, that came to my mind was, we talked about the calls and the cadence and stuff with the customer. To be clear, it's not always an IT person we're talking to, the customer. When we're talking about those applications, who that point of contact is for the line of business application, sometimes that is the accounting person. Sometimes that is the office administrator, but they have the knowledge of that local application, that there are interface locally on site for that support when we're troubleshooting with the vendor.
No, that all makes perfect sense. And I know it can be a whole deep, dark hole of it's hard within 30 minutes to say, hey, here's all of the things that you can look at. But on that vein, if you had to really high level say, I have a business, I'm looking at MSP. When would an MSP maybe not be the best fit? And when should I maybe look to hire somebody internal?
Boy, that's a tough question. There's a lot of different things I think that play into that. First of all, what's your technology environment like today? Is it fairly stable? Is it functioning and providing the resources you need to do your business moving forward? If it's just kind of hanging on by a shred of life, and it's kind of about to die, that may not be an indication you want an MSP, but rather just a technology partner who can come in and help you kind of breathe some new life into that, get it upgraded, get it stable, and then to maintain it going forward, you would want to look to an MSP, somebody who can help you as you look to the future to make sure that things are, again, patching, that they're healthy, that you've got good security in place. And then as new things come around and we understand your business, we should be able to work with you during things like quarterly business reviews to say, hey, here's some things you should be planning for. Did you know that Microsoft Server 2012 R2 goes end of life in October of 2023? We should be planning an upgrade. We should be looking to make sure that we're staying ahead of this so that we can do it in a controlled manner and not get blindsided and all of a sudden have to scramble, because that's always going to put you in a bad situation. So if you're in a good situation today and you're just looking for that help, that kind of that security and that support to keep things functioning, it's a great time to start talking to an MSP. If you've got a local IT person and you go, you know what, this person's going to be out for a period of time, they're going to take some vacation. They want some, they have a personal life too. They can't always be available. I need somebody to help them, to augment them. That's another great reason to look for an MSP. We're not there to replace that IT person. We're there to be their partner, to be their henchman, if you will, to help them keep that environment working. If you're coming to an MSP and saying, "Hey, my environment's a complete mess. I need somebody to straighten it all out," somebody who's holistic, like we are, we can work with you. We can work with your environment. We can get you upgraded, and then transition that into our maintenance and support under managed services. So there's a lot of different things that can play into that. Is there one right time for every company? No. You kind of got to look at it and say, what are my needs? Am I growing to the point where I don't know how to keep this functioning? I don't know what the future holds. I need some advice. Then it's probably a good time to talk to somebody.
Yeah. I think it's very far reaching, but I think Rob makes a very good point. What I've seen from customers, if you're looking at the MSP and you're thinking they're going to go into that managed service contract is going to alleviate all your IT problems, and you have a lot of IT problems, that is not going to be the fix for it. Why you may have had somebody else managing the IT, whether it's another managed service provider or it was somebody internal or an independent contractor. If the IT budget wasn't realistic, if you were not investing into the correct IT infrastructure, and that is the reason for the issues, just switching to another provider or bringing an MSP in there is not going to, that by itself, fix it. You're going to have to, allow for and have strategic conversations to make sure that you're investing in the IT infrastructure to make IT work right. The customers that we work with that continue to invest and drive the most value out of their IT, invest in their IT. IT is not inexpensive. It's not something that needs to be managed for the least cost possible. That has never been a successful model. I've done this for over 30 years. The customers with the least cost has never proven successful. I've never seen it. Why there can be some cost strategic benefits of the MSP side of it. Again, we mentioned some of those on providing the platform, providing the augmentation, providing those things. That's just working smarter and using, people in their right seats to drive the most value out of your IT spend. And, it can definitely be done in those customers that we engage with that do that. There's tremendous synergy and they really drive their IT systems. And we see them actually, produce better results for their customers. And that's the end goal, and it looks tremendous side of it. So, take a close look. My advice is make sure you have a realistic budget for this.
Technology is a tool. It's a tool that you use in your business to help your business to move forward and to service your customers. And just like any tool, you got to take care of it. If you don't take care of the tool, it's going to fail you when you need it the most.
No, that makes perfect sense, right? There's all of these tools, all of these options, and just kind of wrapping it up for today's discussion, because I feel like we could probably turn this into a whole series if I could go on so many tangents about all of these things. But let's say that I am looking at somebody and I'm looking at their tool set and I'm looking at all of the in-house services beyond, right? You go to an MSP website and they're like, we can do printing and we can do all of this. And your brain goes, do I need all of that? And again, I'm sure it's custom to the customer. But is there something that if you were looking checklist and you were being like, okay, what are some of the kind of differentiators between MSPs that are maybe red flags or things that you're like, pro tip, that's a great thing to have?
I think in this current environment that we all live in, any provider that you partner with, any MSP that you look at, really should have a strong security focus. You want somebody who's going to be looking out for your environment to make sure that we're doing the right things to keep you as secure as possible. So their tools should reflect that. So if they're not using current tools, things like endpoint detection and response, or what's called EDR, traditional antivirus is fine, but EDR is really an important factor for securing those endpoints. And it's really the recommendation that I would expect most MSPs to be making to their customers today. So looking for a customer for an MSP company that has a strong focus on keeping your environment secure, as well as being able to support you around the clock when your business needs it. I think those are some of the key factors that you should be looking for.
Yeah, I think having the managed service provider, having security, trained personnel on staff is also, in 2022, incredibly important. Just because nobody has a get out of security incident, free card, it seems there's a lot of things that come through there, and having, experts to go through those things. And, I think it's an important point. Not all MSPs are equal. I know when you see the proposals, it looks very static. We all present very similar things in little different manners, but it can be confusing. Ask about how they secure their systems. Ask how their staff how do they handle these after hours? How do they handle a security incident if it were to occur? What would they do? I vet those out. If they're too small for your needs side of it, you're going to find a pretty large gap there, and that's going to be strenuous in a critical situation to make it worse. And ask how they approach the IT budgeting side of it is another thing, as we just talked about that side of it. Do they help with having realistic budgets that are strategic and aligned with the business, so you have predictive spend as much as possible with this side of it? That brings in security and investment sides of those in the operational budget, and just the overall, support of the systems. How do they account for it? How do they do it? And then how do they secure the systems? Because MSPs in this side of it, we all know that we're under the scope of the threat actors to come after, because there's, we have access to system sides of that. So if your MSP is not secure, you're open yourself up for an issue there as well. So just stuff that you want to definitely ask to make sure that they have things covered. We're a SOC 2 Type 2. We went through that certification. We invest in a tremendous amount of tool sides of those. The EDR Rob mentioned is, definitely one thing we rolled in early last year side of that into the platform side of it, because you need to keep evolving these things. It's well beyond just patching and the ability to remote control. In 22 is what you want your MSP to be.
That sounds like it routes up really well. I have not got a lot more to say on that topic.
We're like, and that's the cherry on top. And no, as I've mentioned throughout this one, I feel like we could talk with both of you in multiple different series. I'm hoping that this sparks good questions for people, where people are like, what did you mean by that? And that we can turn it into a whole nother series. But thank you both for sitting down today, talking about what is an MSP, all the good things, but how people would get in contact with us if they do have those questions. They can email us info@cit-net.com, or they can head on out to our podcast page, which is cit-net.com/podcast. There's a form on there. You can send us an email, call us, chat us. These guys love to talk. If you haven't caught on by now, 5 episodes in, we're like, yeah, we can talk all the time. We just keep ourselves on a timer for these. So we're going to be back next week with another episode, but thank you both so much for sitting down today and filming another Tech for Business podcast.
Thanks so much.